I came across some of your posts on LinkedIn and I found them really interesting and well put together. And they were about educating tweens and teens on matters that we all feel very awkward and embarrassed to talk to younger
Mhm.
age groups about. And I was really impressed by them, and that's what led me to contact you. And so, please, could you introduce yourself and a little bit of work that you do?
Right. So my name is Angela. I'm actually a doctor by training. So what really brought me to the whole sexual wellness sector was because, when I was doing my rounds as a primary healthcare physician, um, people were asking me questions that I couldn't answer, despite having a master's in medicine. And I felt that my own education has failed me. So
Interesting.
I wanted to not have this, being felt by other people, right? And hence I got myself trained in sexual medicine, right? And I put out easy to read posts as what you're seeing, so that people can understand that sex is not such a terrifying topic. You can break it down to really bite size. It's actually not so hard to talk about it.
Okay, fantastic. So we feel awkward and embarrassed to talk about the subject of sex with other adults. Um,
Mm,
so so that's like our starting point, and then to then think about trying to educate our young people, maybe children that we have of our own, teenagers that we have of our own. When we're already embarrassed about the topic is almost it just feels impossible. No one knows how to do it, and that's what your posts were. The posts that I saw were about. Now the first question for you, please, is what is the age group tweens?
mhm. We're looking at about 8, 9, depending on how mature they are. Because some kids at the age of 8 and 9, they know all about the human anatomy, and some of them are still clueless. So it really depends, where your child is at in terms of understanding things, so that you can bring it to their level. So I had a very interesting story, right? So when I was doing my sexual wellness training, so there were people from all over the country that flew in to Europe, and then we did a class together. So there was this mom of three who shared with us something that happened over dinner table. So one day, one of her daughters, who was a teen at the point in time, asked, "Mommy, so what's a virgin?"
Mm.
So the mom was caught off guard because that was way before her training, and she was like, trying to explain what a virgin is, what
Mm.
sex was, and then the daughter just blurted out, "Mama, then what is extra virgin?" So the daughter was simply asking about extra virgin oil that was on the table, right? So I think as parents, sometimes we think too much.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's quite funny actually. Okay, so let's take
Mhm,
that example at the table of
mhm,
Mummy, what's a virgin? I mean, how we would begin to answer that question anyway, I don't know. I think that would panic a lot of mothers and fathers if they were to be asked that question from their teenager. And
mhm,
when
mhm,
you mentioned about tweens being the age groups of like 8, 9, and 10,
mhm.
you made a great point of always analyzing where your child is at.
Mm,
But there's a complication there because there is a difference between where your child is at and how to talk to them to versus what they need to know at that
mm,
age. Now I'm going to bring this back to the subject that I talk about, which is the protection of children, the
yes,
safety of
yes.
children. And I'm of the belief that if we can have these conversations about sex, what is
Mhm,
appropriate and inappropriate, what's safe and unsafe, then
mhm,
we give them the tools and knowledge to navigate life as
mhm.
they come across these things.
Yes.
And before the internet, they were maybe we could say they were safer
Mhm,
before the internet, but now they're on the internet. They're exposed to so many things. I feel
mm,
like now we really need to be having these conversations
yeah,
with young people. So
definitely.
let's start with the ages 8, 9, and 10, I think. Now,
Mhm.
first of all, some people may be thinking talking to an 8, 9, 10-year-old about anything sexual is wrong. They're too young for that. Please, I'd love you to begin talking about this age group.
Okay, I'll actually like to start. So years ago, I got interviewed by a local media, and the headlines came in as this doctor, aka me, talks to her daughter about sex at 9 months old,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? So why? So to me, sex education is not about talking about sex. It's talking about anatomy, it's talking about body image, it's talking about personal boundaries, it's talking about safety. So in Asian culture, what
Hmm.
happens is that we tend to be very obligatory to elders. So if
Hmm.
you're having your little child, at 6 to 9 months, they kind of start to distinguish strangers. And then
Okay.
this auntie, this uncle comes in like, oh, your baby is so cute. Can I squeeze her cheeks? Can I hug her? Can I hold her? Can I play with her? Right? And
Hmm.
if my child were to respond otherwise, I would say, hey, you know what? Maybe not now. You might want to warm up with her. Wait for her to be comfortable with you before you start to have more bodily contact.
Hmm.
So in the olden days, that was not how we were brought up. It's like, oh, this uncle and auntie wants to carry you, go. As an obedient child, you have to go with the elders because it's respect.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what unknowingly are we passing on the messages to our child if we allow our child to go with someone they're not familiar with and
Hmm.
expect them to comply happily,
Hmm. Really interesting.
right? So
Hmm.
to me, boundaries and consent don't start at 8 or 9 years old. They start at 8 and 9 months old.
Okay, and that's where you get your headline
Right.
um, that you received. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I am in agreement with this. So let's take young boy in my family when we were wrestling and having those types of games, which was very fun. I'm having as much fun as he is. We're rolling around, but as soon as I could sense that was enough, or he said no, I would back
Mm-hmm.
off straight away. Whereas
Yes.
before I did this work, I probably would have kept pushing and pushing and pushing,
Yeah.
thinking that it's
Yeah.
fun. But now I like respect his boundary. And this
Yes.
was when he was what, 3 years old. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm beginning to do that as well. I think without teaching them, it's showing them that we respect your space,
Mm-hmm.
we respect who you are, and we respect your word, especially the word no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to me, at 8, 9, it's not just about teaching them like sex for real, but you have to teach them like where their boundaries. Because when they go to school, things will be very different.
Right.
In order to keep the whole class room managed, the teachers will then compromise on things,
Mm,
right? A kid who was trying to speak up for themselves will be asked to say shut up because, that's how the classroom is being managed.
mm,
Okay. And they will be asked to say sorry for things they've apparently done out of a retaliation or otherwise. Okay. So what are boundaries? What are consent? This, I think, needs to start to have a more structured conversation when they are
mm,
going into 8 or 9, right? So they start understanding like how does relationship dynamic works. When do you say a yes and when do you say a no?
mm,
And
mm,
when do you like compromise the situation but not yourself?
mm. This is so interesting. So I was interviewed last night for a radio station, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And one the person who was interviewing me, we started speaking about the work that I'm doing in schools. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I explained a little bit that I speak in primary schools, which is age a very young ages, age 4 to 11, and then secondary schools, which is 11 to 16. So I said
Right.
I cover the range of ages, and she asked me, but isn't that ruining their innocence with the subject that I'm bringing to the table? And I thought, there's she's she is not understanding what I'm actually doing because I of course am not going to speak to 7-year-olds about the crime of sexual abuse and someone may offend against you. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to
Mhm.
educate and empower and make them
Yes.
comfortable in different spaces and make them confident in different
Mm.
spaces. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I don't even use the word, I don't think I do, use the word abuse in
Mm.
with those younger ages. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
empowering in them and making them confident. So I feel like this is mirrors what I'm talking to you about, that
Mm.
we're not actually
Yes.
talking to tweens or even younger ages, the six, sevens,
Mm-hmm.
and eights. We're not talking to them about sex and what sex is. We're talking to them
Mm-hmm.
about their bodies,
Hmm.
What's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what you can do if you feel uncomfortable. And it's that kind of conversation we need to have with young
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. And also we talked about shame. So across all cultures and languages, yes, appear that the genitals has the most number of nicknames compared to
Mm,
all the other body parts.
Yes, so it's so unusual, isn't it? It's so
Right.
unusual that we do that. No other
Yeah.
body part. Ah, actually, let me
Hmm.
ask you about something
Yes.
because I've had this conversation quite a few times, how it's
Hmm.
so weird that we have for the genitals we have nicknames, but for no other body part we have nicknames. But someone said to me, they questioned me and they said, actually, Jeremy, we say when you're trying to when you're saying your stomach area, we say belly,
Mm, mm,
which is
mm.
like a nickname, but it covers
Right.
the whole area. So they said,
Hmm.
oh, so maybe we do have some nicknames, but with the genital nicknames that we have, for example, we have Willy here in England, right? We use that instead of saying penis. I'm just wondering why it is. Why is it like that?
From what I understand, it's a lot to do with the shame because like it becomes a root word. So in one of Chinese dialects, what happens is when you are swearing, you can actually use body parts, genitals as a swear word,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's a bad word.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We have it same in English.
yes, we do that, right? In terms of
Yeah.
variation. So it appears that the genital is like such an unsightly, unseen body part. It
Okay.
deserves the shame and the embarrassment. So it is like Tao who should not be named.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
So kids grow up with this impression that, this part is shameful.
mm,
It should not be named. It should be hushed, right? And it, as a result, what I see in my clinic is that people who are so uncomfortable with their body parts that they have problem having sex,
hmm. Wow.
right?
Mm,
So there's this medical condition called vaginismus, where the vagina entrance is too tight for penetrative sex to actually happen.
mm,
And these women come in with a lot of baggage and shame.
mm. Okay.
Right.
So
And if
interesting.
you ask them this, have you ever seen your vulva before? The answer is almost 100% no.
Mm. Okay, so we are creating a shame and embarrassment and a
Mhm.
secrecy around these body parts. But now let's relate that to the younger ages and
Yes.
education. Now, of course, to do that with children, to create that shame just through the use of words,
Hmm.
and you're really instilling this inside of a young person, so that when they get to an adult, it's like almost like in their DNA. That's not
Mm.
going to be helpful. But if we start to talk about safety,
Mm-hmm.
protection,
Mm-hmm.
are we saying that all of this secrecy and shame around body parts, in particular genitals, that's not going to help the safety of a young person because then they just can't talk about it?
Yes. So if someone were to touch them in this secret parts,
Mm,
they won't be able to know how to bring it up. And let's say if they see a doctor for a discomfort, they are also not being able to describe in detail where the discomfort is because it's like the whole area,
yeah, yeah, okay, okay. So it
right? So
actually
it's
just
not
adds
just
another layer of secrecy and shame
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
on parts that
right.
we should not feel that around because they are body parts.
Yes. Yes, and there's a lot of insensitivity around the whole thing. Because if a female were to see a doctor most of the time to get a pap smear, there's also a lot of shame around it and
Mm,
awkwardness. And the
mm,
doctors will treat it as a very technical process, and then they won't
mm,
really take to the account the shame and the conservative mindset the patient has. And it becomes a very distasteful doctor's visit. And that's why, across a lot of countries, the pap smear rate is really low.
mm. I saw one of your posts about this. Yeah. Yeah. Really
Yeah.
interesting.
So it's all tied in. It's not just safety, it's also our health, how we view
Right.
our body that then gets in the way of how we take care of ourselves.
Right. 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 Okay. So this is another angle. So
Mhm.
this openness, not even openness, that would mean, yeah, that's not the correct word. Just talking about the body as it
Yes.
is. the body.
Yes.
No matter
Yes.
if we were talking about your leg, your foot, your head,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
brain. Just let's
Yes.
just talk about it
In the
the
same tone.
same, right?
Yeah.
In the same way across the board. It's not just about protection and safety, it's actually about health.
Yes.
And if we can do this with children from a young age, why wouldn't we? Um, then we're going to, it's just a positive move. It's a
Mm-hmm.
positive move.
Mm-hmm.
So even with my child, I feel very, he's still very young, and I still feel very embarrassed saying penis because I have grown up in a generation where you don't say that word to with young people, or we didn't say that word as a young person. Do you think if we, a slight tangent here, but let's just quickly explore it. If I grew up in a world where then there wasn't nicknames for body parts, do you think there is an innate embarrassment about your body parts, or do you think it's
Mm-hmm.
actually taught? Do you think it's nature or nurture?
I think it's more nurture than nature,
Okay, okay.
right? I mean, a long time ago in caveman times,
Mm.
all of us didn't have clothes,
Oh, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
right? So I don't think it's in our biology to feel ashamed.
Mm,
Okay?
mm,
But shame is actually a protective mechanism for human survival. Why?
interesting. Okay.
Right? Because humans are social creatures, we seek to be accepted. So shame becomes a protective mechanism to keep us in check so that we
Mm,
get accepted by the group in general.
okay, okay. So explain that a little bit more for me, please, because so
Mhm.
the shame will keep. What purpose does the shame have for a certain area then?
Okay, so let's say, this group that I hang out with, they feel that, wearing blue is shameful, not
Okay.
an appropriate thing, right? And then if I want to be part of the group, then I have to agree that wearing blue is not appropriate, and the shame then creates a response to remind me that blue is not appropriate in this group.
Right.
And then I'll be dissuaded by my own mechanics that I shouldn't be wearing blue.
Mm, mm.
Okay. So the same thing if culture kinds of built that, private parts are shameful. So for me to be able to survive in this culture that I'm in, or in this group that I'm in, I have
Right.
to agree that, these parts are also shameful. And that will keep me in check so that I'm not overly expressive about my private.
Mm.
Because I'll be shamed by the rest
Okay.
and not
Now,
accepted.
yep. Okay, I understand that now. And so, does that also come in with this embarrassment and awkwardness to talk to children about their bodies?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
like a
so as
cultural. It's
adults,
a cultural thing. Like because the adults around us when we were children didn't
mhm,
talk to us about it. We don't know how to talk to the
yeah.
next generation about it,
Mhm.
and none of this is helping.
Yes. So for example, when my child was 2, we had a gathering at our house, and then my child goes like, who has hands? Who has legs? Like so people responding to her questions. And then she blurted out, who has a penis?
Oh my goodness.
Right. So in her world, it was all the same.
Right, I understand. I understand.
And then she went up to this lady, I mean a friend of mine, and then we asked her, so do you think, this auntie has a penis or a vulva? Then she replied, she has a penis and a very big one.
But so innocently,
Yeah.
and you taught her that there's no shame around that conversation. So she was just,
Just imagine in the head, like how things work, right?
yeah,
Then to her, it's like whether it's a penis or the vulva, the head or the hair, the eyes, they are all the same.
okay, okay.
And that was before she went to full-time school.
Mm. So, so if we were to move in a direction where we could remove the shame of talking to young children, we're still on that
Mhm,
age group, about their bodies because they definitely feel a shame about it. Because when I speak in primary schools, when we talk about the rules, right? So we
mhm,
talk about the rules around your body and
mhm,
we talk about the no-go zones. And when I label the no-go zones, which I label them as the groin area, the bottom
mhm,
area, the chest area, and the mouth area. When you label the groin area, everybody's like,
okay, yeah,
but that's because
it's a normal
that's a reaction that's been passed to
yes,
them, or because no one
yes,
ever spoken openly about this to them
Mhm.
through their life, they feel like, oh, this is a new conversation. When really, if I'm speaking to 7-year-olds, this should not be a new conversation. When I say
Mhm.
to them, the groin area, the bottom area, the chest area, the mouth area, that should just be normal for them. Oh, yeah, they're just
Mhm.
parts of the body that we protect
Yeah.
and nobody
Yeah.
goes near and they're private.
Mhm. Yeah. So when we start doing that as educators, what happens is they're getting the signal like, oh, it's actually just a normal body part.
Right.
Because after a while, the giggling actually dies down.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So it's just a phase. So as adults, as parents, as educators, to me, it's like this giggling is part of the package. But it's not
Mm,
something that we need to delve into.
mm.
Because they just need to get past the awkwardness. And kids, they switch very fast. They're
Yes.
pretty amazing at switching their states.
Amazing, yeah.
Right? As long as you hold the space and let them finish the awkwardness and the giggle, then the curiosity start to surface. And that's where when we start to engage them in more meaningful conversations, and then the education part actually comes in. Because when
Amazing.
the moment we dive into them with their awkwardness, what happens is we become defensive as well.
Mm,
And we are trying to defend something, then you're giving it too much energy and focus.
mm,
Then they go like, oh, you mean this is something that is worth spending time and energy on, this whole awkwardness? That means it must be something really big.
mm. So
So you just have to let
interesting.
it pass.
So interesting. And you're so right. I've never really thought about that before because if I want to go and speak in this primary schools, I go
Mhm.
in once, right? So once I've done my thing, I'm finished there. But if I was to go the following week and the following week and continue
Yes.
the education, the second week and the third week, the giggling would have finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, there shouldn't have been any giggling in the first place. That's not blaming the children. That's just blaming the fact that the first time they're hearing this conversation is
Mhm.
probably last year
Mhm.
during some little video that the teacher
Mhm.
played, and then this
Mhm.
year when I've come in, where it should have
Yeah.
just been a continuous conversation throughout their life. Then there wouldn't have been any giggling in the first place.
Yeah.
What do you think what do you say to people who could be listening to this, or if they did listen to this, they're saying, you are they're still too young, right? They're still too young. I get what you're saying, but you're taking these difficult conversations to these young children about body safety and areas on their body they shouldn't go near and how to protect yourself. You're ruining their innocence. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say, if you're not confident of having this conversation, feel free to find someone you can trust to have this conversation with a child.
But what happens if they say to you, this conversation is unnecessary?
Mhm. Um, I mean, it gets really tough, but because not everyone will get to experience a bad encounter. But
Mm,
then if you actually encounter a bad one, it actually scars the persons for life,
right,
right? So are we going to do this in a way that prepares them so that they never have to go through a bad encounter? Or are we going to put the risk that this bad encounter will never befall on our child?
right. That is a good answer.
Mhm.
That is a good answer.
Right.
It's about having the conversations to reduce the risk that this would happen,
Hmm.
giving the child the tools and the knowledge so that this doesn't happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier on, with the internet, everything is so easily accessible, right? They may not be prey by a stranger. So when I was doing these talks in schools, one of the things that I ask, right, do you know who tends to be the perpetrators? 100% of the class will say strangers.
Hmm,
But when I pull out the statistics and show them the graph, then the whole class will instantly realize that it's not strangers. 90% of perpetrators are actually people the victims know.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, and this is something that I think all educators and parents should know
yeah,
about as well.
yeah. It's still surprising. Well, it is surprising to people who are not within these topics to hear
Mm-hmm.
that. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's the stranger conversation that everybody thinks is the top conversation. It's really not. Um, okay, so I know that you put together a curriculum for these
Mm-hmm.
young people, which was great. I read through it; it was excellent. Is that publicly available, or is that something that you provide in your trainings and through your courses, etc.?
So I provide the whole set as a training for children, teens and tweens, that I do for some of the schools that I work with,
Amazing.
right? So I will take snippets of that and then put it into nugget size where I post it on my social media content, so that it's easier as an outreach and then to get people to start thinking,
Mm, yeah, you
right?
do it really well. You do it really well. Are you on other platforms except for LinkedIn?
Um, for now, no, I don't have the capacity to,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
understand. I understand. I fully understand that. I mean, people think that if you run social media platforms, it's like just a quick half an hour here and there. It's really not, is it? It's it is so time consuming. I understand. But yeah, if you ever, a lot of my audience are on Facebook, Instagram. So if you ever do want to launch another one, please do, because I think your work would be extremely successful there. I would like to start moving on to slightly older ages.
Mm.
So let's start talking about teens. Is teens age group from 13 and above?
Yes, you're looking at about, pubertal age. So there's
Right.
12, 13, 14, all the way to 16. Because from 16 to 18, you realize that the mindset has changed a lot. So the way that you engage them needs to also change.
Amazing. So please, can we start beginning to talk about? Actually, I'd be very interested in the
Mm.
differences between preteens and teens. Like,
Mhm.
so how do we start as a parent? How would you evolve the conversation when your child turns 12, 13, 14, and they're noticeably going through puberty?
Yeah. So puberty has a very magical effect on people.
I remember. I remember it when I was young, yeah. It was crazy.
Um, some kids, find it traumatizing,
Hmm,
and some kids look forward to it because it's like growing up. Um, and some kids is like, why is it not happening to me? Yet everyone around me is going through puberty. What's wrong with me,
right.
right? So we have the early bloomers, we have the late bloomers, and we have everyone that happens in between. So usually people on the opposite, the two spectrums are the one that struggle the most with puberty. Okay, so I won't focus on the age itself because age is quite different for people who go through puberty. I'll focus on the phase of puberty instead.
Okay.
So puberty don't happen overnight. It's something that gradually happens, right? It's a journey that takes
Yeah.
about 2 to 3 years for it to actually mature. So
Yeah.
the whole point is like at the start, how do we prepare our children to understand that their body is changing and what is it for?
Hmm.
So a lot of boys will be caught off guard. How come suddenly I'm having wet dreams?
Hmm.
And then the shame then comes in as well,
Right.
right? And girls, the first menstrual encounter, how is it like? Because all this getting them prepped for their significant body changes actually is very important. So, like breasts grow gradually, the voice change gradually. By having the first wet dream, having the first menstrual period, there are things that happen suddenly.
Right. Understood.
Okay, so how do we prepare them for that? So in the Asian culture, there's a lot of shame around menstruation.
Hmm.
Okay, so I myself, um, yeah, like I find it much easier to talk about sex than talk about menstruation,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because of the amount of hush that I was told compared to sex, which is just pure silent versus an active silence, it creates a different impact on me.
Right.
Okay. And then my mom wasn't around because my parents are divorced when I
Hmm.
had my first period. So my grandma, which is of an older generation, then brings a different set of things. So I felt that I wasn't quite prepared for puberty. And that changes a lot of how I view myself. So a part of me wanted to be still the little girl. I didn't want to be a grown up because it was too scary,
Hmm.
right? And that affected of how I relate to myself
Hmm.
along the way. So I think when it comes to teens, it's important to prep them for the changes and what to expect.
Okay.
So when I
Amazing.
talked about this in a classroom setting, okay, um, some of the girls were very well equipped. They are aware and they know, and you can feel that, they are not afraid of puberty,
Right.
right? And then some of them, has so much hesitation on their face, and you know that no one has talked to them about it and they don't know what to expect. Okay. And then, and we know that at adolescence is a time where the teens have a really hard time struggling to find their identity.
Hmm.
Okay. So if we add on the gender maturation as another problem that they have on top of their identity,
Right.
they're going to go through a lot, plus the hormonal shift and change,
Mm,
right? So how do we support our teens? I mean, the best way is that we actually talk to them about the changes that's upcoming and prepare them for it,
mm,
right? And this is also where they start having more intense crushes.
hmm.
Okay. And these crushes, unlike those they have as tweens, are going to be more sophisticated and developed and more complex,
Right.
right? So how then do we keep them safe in those times so that people don't take advantage of them,
Okay.
right? So I
So
think
important. Yeah.
so all these talks is going to help them get through the whole phase. So we don't end up, so we always label teenagers as rebellious
Mm,
and we try to control them
right.
by giving them even more rules and regulations, timeout curfews and things like that.
Right.
But I think what they're not having is being understood and being shown how to handle, right, how their frontal lobe is processing information the right
Mm,
way.
mm, 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 mm. Oh, it's so great. It's so great. I'm just picturing the ideal, which would be a home where both parents are active in these conversations in a skillful way, which is,
Mhm,
as a parent, our aim. Um, and a young, I'm just thinking about a young 13-year-old Jeremy, right? He,
mhm,
he was wild. Early bloomer, I was. And everything is so chaotic in those
mhm,
ages. Everything's changing. All of a sudden, you're not interested in this thing anymore. You're just so interested in this. You and your mates, you and your friends are like the language has changed, the energy has changed, and to have a stable person in your life with some skill and wisdom
mhm,
to let you know this is normal, or how are you feeling about this, or have you considered this?
mm,
I think the communication is vital as well, isn't it? Like you just
yes.
said, not lecture and discipline constantly.
Mhm,
It's more like tell me about what's going on for you, because also in the way that they are going through stages that we experienced as in our lives already,
mhm,
the difference is they're in a world that's different to
yes.
the world we were in when we were going through those stages. So we have to be understanding at the same time. So to talk openly about these different stages and these different situations that can now occur. For example, I didn't have a wet dream. So if somebody had talked to me about that, no problem. But that didn't happen for me. But to have that knowledge and to have that to be equipped with that could happen, then when it
Mhm,
does happen, as you mentioned, it's a sudden thing. there's no there's no panic around it.
yes.
Oh, I got told about this, that this may
Mhm,
happen in these
mhm,
stages. So it's openness, great communication. And I think one of the vital things you have spoken about is this just opens the channels of communication between parent and child, and it strengthens the bond and the confidence both ways,
yes.
which then, when you start to have intense crushes on people and start to get into relationships of a sexual nature, then any concerns or any reasons to panic, we stand the best chance that our child will come to us.
Yeah, right, which is missing in quite a lot of parent-child relationships,
Yeah.
right? So survey has been done in Singapore and Malaysia. The question is like, where do you get your sex information from?
Hmm.
Okay, friends, number one,
Right.
social media, number two.
Yep.
Way bottom of the list, parents.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, pornography's probably got to be up there as well.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe they wouldn't put that as a reason because it's a little bit shameful, isn't it? That
Mhm,
area. So
mhm.
right. So the summary is where we want them to get their education from is school and parents. And those two things are way down at the bottom of the list. We need to flip that list upside down. Of course we do. No one's disagreeing with that. Everyone's
Mhm.
agreeing with that. So where we started this conversation of, um, people concerned about bringing these conversations to our young people too early or at all, we're now seeing, well, actually, if we don't bring these conversations, if we don't educate, if we don't empower for safety and protection, if we don't do that, someone else will. And that
Yes.
someone else is hearsay amongst friendship groups. Somebody heard something and now they bring it in the friendship group. An older brother said something, an older sister said something. They saw something on a video. Now they're just talking about it amongst their age group.
Themselves.
That's
Yeah.
no good. And
Totally not
also,
curated.
and sorry,
Totally not curated. So you don't know what information they are sharing among themselves.
right. There's no one to fact check anything that
Yes.
anybody's saying either. Or we have social media, which just to let people know that every subject is available on social media. And we're not just talking about pornography websites here or any other websites that are restricted by an 18 certificate. I was on my YouTube channel this morning just having a quick scan through, and the algorithm, sometimes because of the subject I talk about, sometimes it's
Mm.
sexual content, the algorithm throws me all sorts of adult content that's available for everyone of any age on YouTube,
Yes.
authorized by YouTube. So for anybody that's thinking that these 11-year-olds aren't finding things online, even if you have firewalls on your Wi-Fi at home, they are finding it. And it's being shared in their WhatsApp groups and their Messenger groups because it's funny or it's like, it gets a reaction from the other people in their friendship group. So we must do something about this. I'm really interested to hear from you about 16 to 18 age group. So that's so much older. Okay. So your 16, 17, 18-year old, they're now, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, they're becoming young adults.
Yes.
That's the phase that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So my initial thought would be if you sat your 17-year-old down and started to talk about these conversations, if you've decided that actually this is something you now need to do because you haven't been doing it before, and so it's quite a new conversation, that 17-year-old is going to reject this instantly and be like, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not in my world. So please, I'd love for you to talk about that age group.
It gets very challenging if we have neglected the topic with our child.
Mm,
But I do hope that the saving grace is, the parent has been supportive in other aspects,
okay.
right? It's not like a sudden jump in. I need to control you. I need to make sure that you're not becoming a preteen mother or preteen dad,
Mm,
from the
yeah,
angle,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But more like, I haven't, felt that this was something that I will be comfortable or you'll be comfortable talking to. But having heard about the different advice, I think it's time for me to discuss this with you.
Great,
You may or may not have your first sexual encounter, right? So, it's like giving that ambiguity so that we don't label our child right away.
great,
Okay, I just want you to know as a parent, I want to support you to have pleasant and positive sexual encounters should you have any.
great.
Okay. And I'm happy to sit here and talk to you about it or even talk to you about relationship because I myself went through a lot of things in relationship that I wish that I didn't have to go through. So I'm more than happy to share with you the lessons that I have so that you don't have to repeat them.
Amazing. That's so good. That's so good. Really. And so uh, again, it's just we just keep coming back to how to keep we're just trying our best to help them keep themselves safe,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to not
Yes.
fall for to not fall into mistakes that we made. I think that's so powerful. Like I've thought about that before, by the way, about being with this particular topic, being a little bit open about
Mm-hmm.
possible errors that you made as a youngster.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so powerful because you can connect with your teenager in a way that they will feel, oh, dad or mum, they were my age once actually before. Like they forget that, don't they? I didn't think that of
Yeah, they
my
usually do.
parents. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, oh, they're a human being. They made mistakes before as well, and that's so valuable for them to hear.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of oh, actually, I'll just ask you directly. I saw a post from you about opening conversation about condoms
Right.
with teenagers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is an awkward conversation. In fact, I know it's so awkward. I don't have teenagers myself, right? But I know some of my friends. the way they've communicated condoms with their son, and this is we smile at this because we understand it so much. Is they just left condoms on the side
Yeah.
in their room, and then nothing else was said. Right? That's how it went because it's just too awkward. So I'd love for you
Mhm.
to talk about this, please.
Um, so I'd say, if you're really awkward and you don't know where to start, feel free to just leave it there and leave a little note, right? Don't just leave it there and there. Like, so leave a little note, right? Say, I don't know when you're gonna have your first time, but if you do, I want you to be safe. And I know it's awkward to get it from the store. So here is dad's love and mom's love for you.
Brilliant. So good. Yeah, excellent.
Like just a little note, right? To let them know that your child that let your child know that you actually care for them.
Mm. Okay, can we just do a quick scan
Yes.
across the age groups? So I'm going to ask you, this will be very valuable, right, for anyone who's a parent and actually anybody that takes is in care of young people to hear this. Can you split the age groups up
Mm-hmm.
how you want to? And can you explain like the delivery that you just did, not just the condom conversation, but like the sexual encounter conversation with the teenagers?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us like a role play, like a few sentences like that for the different age groups as they get older? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Because obviously you
Okay,
just
like
talked about
how do you
sexual
actually start a
encounters
topic on
with teens,
sex?
but you wouldn't do
Yes,
that. The conversation with a 7-year-old would be different.
yes, yes. All right. So for your preteens, then what you're more interested in is body safety and boundaries, right? So how I would start is it like, okay, so the body parts, right? Which parts do you feel that you feel safe that your friend touches you?
Mm,
Okay, which part do you feel that is safe is if an elder like an auntie or uncle that visits touches you,
mm,
right? Which part do you think is safe for mom and dad to touch you? Which part, is safe for your siblings to do that? So can you tell me all of these parts? Great, I think want to keep to that. So if anyone touches you out of this and you're not comfortable, do you know what to do? Okay, and kids being kids, they're like, I'll punch that guy. Right? And this is where it goes like, say, no, sometimes you might not always have the ability to overcome by fear physical force. So what do you think is the next appropriate step? So
mm.
instead of putting them down, you kind of like want to explore, acknowledge and then explore,
Amazing. It's so
right?
good. Yeah, okay. Okay,
Okay.
and
And then you
something I noticed you did, and I don't know whether you've done this consciously or not, but you focused on the positive throughout the whole
mm,
thing. So
mm-hmm.
where is safe
Yes.
to touch, not where it's unsafe and scary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, really powerful.
So, I mean, you kind of just want to build that confidence that they
Mm,
have the rights to their own body and they know what is pleasurable touch as well, right? Because another big thing that I face in my adult clients is that they cannot differentiate between desired pleasure and imposed pleasure,
right, please talk a bit more about this.
right? So everyone is different and we like to be touched in different places and different ways. But a lot of times we don't know how to express that. And we will just let our partners decide what is nice and what is not nice.
Mm,
And we don't voice out when we do not agree with those things on the bodily sensation.
mm,
Our mind just tell us like it's okay, this is what guys like, this is what girls like, I'll just let it be. And a lot of times we get this information from pornography as well. So we try to depict what happens in porn into real life. And when it doesn't feel good, we will think like there's something wrong with me.
yeah,
So I think as a start, it's important for us to help our child distinguish what is a pleasant touch and what's a not pleasant touch, and then having the empowered decision maker, right, to then decide what's that. And that actually tangential into a little side topic about food and being picky.
okay, yeah, please.
Because as parents, especially in Asia, eating is a very important ritual. And the more your child eat, the healthier he or she is. So we tend to put a lot of emphasis on what they eat and what they don't. We don't
Mm,
let our child choose. So
okay,
a good child is someone who is not a picky eater.
right.
Okay, so if we actually start taking away their rights to choose, okay, then they start learning about what they choose about what is a good touch and bad touch,
Mm,
what is a good interaction and what is not. On the contrary, if we just let them choose everything that they eat and just junk all the time and we're not educating them what is a balanced diet, yes, you can have snacks, but what is in moderation?
mm,
Then this is where the addiction problem comes in because they have no discipline around their ability to handle their cycle of gratification,
right. Wow. Wow.
right? So a lot of this education, they don't come in as just sex. It's actually how you do parenting right from the start,
Mm. And you're
right? So anyway, yeah,
teaching transferable skills. So you're teaching a skill in
yes,
a certain area that will be applied in all areas.
definitely. We this is one human, so this same human will be doing the same things in different areas of our life.
Mm. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so preteens, it's all
Yes.
about body safety.
Yes, body safety.
Right. So
So,
help
body
help
safety, yes.
yeah,
And the shame part that we talk about, so that's the summary.
please.
Recognizing the body parts and what it is, and being comfortable in naming those body
Mm,
parts.
mm, mm, mm,
So
mm,
that's
mm.
preteens.
Yeah, okay, great. So now we talk about teens, please. Or the next would the next category be teens?
Yes, so teens, then you talked about those who are nearing puberty. That
Mm,
is actually one major juncture
mm,
that we start talking to them about purity. So this is where we talk like, hey, you know what? Your body's going to change. If they have an older cousin or older sibling, great. Okay, do you notice that no, when so and so was this age, what happened to them? How do you feel about it? What are your thoughts? Right? And then they're going to have some feedback around those things. And then you can start from there. Oh, yeah, so this is what we're going to prepare you for. And this is where you can, with the help of books, go more into the anatomy and how the body actually changes and get some feedback around like how did they feel about the body changes.
mm,
Right. So it will not be possible to do this in one sitting. Right. You might just want to get a book where they can refer to it from time to time when they have questions.
mm.
Okay. So that kind of helps. And then this is where if you haven't introduced earlier, to introduce how a child is being conceived. Because then so one of the questions that I asked the class is, do you know why do we need to go through puberty?
Interesting. Yeah.
Right? Isn't it awesome that all of us don't need to go through puberty and then all of us can grow taller all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time,
Mm,
right? We don't have to go through the pain of having menstruation and things like that. Isn't that awesome? Then when they recognize that this is irrefutable, a biological process, they go like, oh, okay, because humanity needs to survive.
mhm,
If we can't reproduce, then that's the end of humanity.
mhm.
So I'm like, yeah, we're all constructed as such. So, shall we talk a little bit more about how conceiving happens?
Okay.
Right? With the help of books and, pictures, it helps to explain a lot.
Mm. Oh, so good. I feel like what you're bringing to the table is a rational biological explanation that doesn't need to be in the way that we're doing it currently. It doesn't need to be embarrassing. It doesn't need to be awkward. It's just biology. In fact,
Yeah.
you're just teaching your child biology.
Yes. Yes. But then coming with the empathy of like, this is the change that's going to happen, right? And it does affect you emotionally,
Mm,
right? So this change as much is factual, but it's more than factual. It's you as a human in totality. You're going to develop physically, mentally, emotionally, and you're going to have new ideas about who you are, and that's
mm,
okay.
mm, 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 mm. So great. Okay. Next stage group, please.
All right, so then you talked about those who are post-puberty,
Right.
and this is where you're going to have more serious conversation about what do you think about relationships, what do you think about sexual relationships,
Mm,
right? What do you think about situationships? What do you think about, dating online and things like that? And to really understand, in within their clique that they hang out with, what is the general consensus?
mm.
Okay, because what you have as family values, unfortunately, is going to be of a lower priority of what your friends think.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to then have a glimpse of what their peers talk about and how you can help them find their own identity among all of that.
Mm. Yeah, because that's complicated stage of life, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. And this is where your personal sharing of how you struggled through that phase is going to come in very handy.
Right. So you can really start to see, okay, would that be the
Yes.
final age group that you would
Well, I
discuss?
mean, after that, it comes to, building committed relationships, starting a family if they want to, or
Okay.
choosing to remain single if they want to.
Okay.
Right. And then we haven't opened up, if your child has different gender orientation
Hmm.
and attraction, and then how does those conversations pans out. So that actually sways different things different ways.
Yes, yes. Okay. So this is so good because what we've just done in the last 5 to 10 minutes is really gave a progressive overview of how the conversation changes.
Yes.
It's not even only explaining things in a little bit more detail. It's not even just that. It's like new things. You're bringing new things in
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
the age group of your child
Yes.
grows.
It's also about growing with your child to understand that their understanding capacity and ability changes as they go along. And then their need for independency also changes. So, how do you allow them to be more independent and critical thinkers as they grow along?
Mm,
So, it's not always about spoon feeding, lecturing. It's also giving them tools to learn about skill sets in life because handling relationship is a life skill set.
mm.
It's not something you can download,
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
right?
it's
How do you prepare your
complicated,
child?
and it's
Mm,
complicated, and
yes.
it's different with different people
Yes.
in your life, from a work relationship to
Mm-hmm.
to a friendship to a romantic relationship. You used another word, that situationship.
Yes,
What's that?
situationships. It's getting really hot nowadays where youngsters will get together in the context as a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They will have sexual relationship, but it's totally non-committed. So
Okay,
they are free to, it's almost like an open relationship, but not quite there yet, because yeah, it's like a bit ambiguous. So it's actually relationship without commitment.
okay, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So, can I ask you, when we had a call before we started recording this, you
Yes.
mentioned that you were from a culture that's generally more, could be considered
Conservative.
more conservative, right?
Mhm.
I understand about those things because my
Mhm.
family heritage is from Sri Lanka, which is a culture which is
Ah,
also more
okay.
conservative than
Mhm.
the country that I live in, England, which
Mhm.
is more open than the Sri Lankan culture. So,
Mhm.
with you doing this work in Singapore, am I correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Within that culture, do you receive any kickback with the work that you do?
I would say yes. So I don't have my own TikTok channel, but I do appear on other people's TikTok channel,
Okay.
right? And I have received nasty comments,
Hmm.
um, like things that that call me being loose, easy, slut, and things like that. Some
Wow.
really ugly words.
Hmm.
And then some will say like, what do you think this doctor know? Like, how many partners have she had to learn all of this? Um, it can be really crude,
Yes.
right? Sometimes. Um,
I'm so sorry,
but
by the way, that that is the experience. I get that. I get nasty comments too about various things, so I understand.
yeah, but importantly, if I'm clear on what I'm doing and what I'm delivering, right, and more people actually benefit from it,
Mm.
right, I'll just say they are just people with sour grapes,
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, if someone is having a fulfilling relationship in their life and a fulfilling sexual relationship for that matters, they wouldn't have a problem with me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. That's a
Yeah.
nice way. That's a good way to think about it, actually, and is
Hmm.
I would say probably very true. So what drives you? What drives you to do this work? Because you're putting yourself out there against the
Mm,
grain.
yes. I would say it's painful to see the gaps. So like say, one of my encounters was that okay, there are a few main things here, but I think what I want to share is about people are not getting the right information
mm,
from the right persons,
mm,
right? And people who are trying to find answers are going to so many uncurated sources, and it just get worse.
mm,
And then what happens is, as this goes on, so at one point in time, my career, I actually work in the palliative care sector. So I care for people who are terminally ill. And the saddest thing is to see that these people have estranged relationships.
mm,
So no one is at their deathbed, right? No one is there at the funeral, right? And it's really sad.
mm,
So to me, what is it going to take for us to reduce such occurrences?
mm,
Then that goes down to our ability to build meaningful relationships, right? And in order to build meaningful relationships, you must have to know how relationships work. But we learn math, we learn language in school. We don't learn relationship in school.
mm. It's so true.
So somebody had to do the work.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for doing this, because I understand how challenging and difficult it is to go against the grain and put yourself out there and do something that you know some people aren't going to agree with and give you negative feedback, but
Mhm.
you continue doing the work because it's what you believe. And I think you noticing the gaps and it giving you pain to see that and to see young people getting information from uncurated sources, that's a great driver. And I really do wish you all the success in your work. I've learned so much from this conversation, and I know so many others will. Please, can you tell everybody where they can find you if they'd like to see more of your work?
Right. So more of my work are on my LinkedIn page, right? Search Dr. Angela Tan. You'll find me on LinkedIn. If there's anything you want to ask me, please DM me, right? And if there's a need for more professional consult, we can arrange it online as well. So don't worry about, the difference in timing, the difference in countries, something can be arranged with our technology today.
Amazing. I want to say a big thank you for giving me your time and us your time today. I've found it extremely valuable, and I know others will too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be on your channel. I really hope that, this words gets out so that more people understand that sex is not as scary as we think it is. It's really just another function of life. In the Maslow hierarchy of needs, is actually the base one.
Interesting.
Right.
Amazing.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you.